Today I will show you how to make this bralette and Lacey thong combo. For this project you will need a sewing machine with a zigzag stitch, a pair of underwear and a bralette, and 4 to 5 yards of stretch lace trim. First we will start with drafting the pattern for the undies from a pair of underwear you like. I am tracing the body area since we will use the lace trim to wrap around the hips and do not need a pattern. To do this, I am tracing and then rotating the underwear down so I can get the complete shape. We're going to use half of what we traced so that there's symmetry. For the waistband, the seams are in the middle of the front and the middle of the back. Therefore, there are 2 lace trims that will be sewn together. On my underwear, each trim was 13 inches, so I cut 2 13-inch strips. For the body, I matched up the decorative edges and put the 2 pieces right sides together. Now, to try to get that thinness in the middle to make it branch out, I cut a curve through the non-decorative edges and then tested it by turning it inside out with my craft clips holding it in place. By cutting a C-shaped curve, I was able to mimic the shape of the underwear. And now we sew that seam right down the middle, right sides together. Here I'm using my serger, but feel free to use a zigzag stitch on a regular sewing machine and you will get the same effect. On the white lace waistband, we sewed the 2 edges we cut right sides together to make one waistband, which looks something like a headband. I decided to trim off the top of my body since it was looking a little long. If you wanted yours to be more high-waisted, you make the body longer, but I wanted mine to hug my hips. Now we match up the seams and sew a zigzag to attach the body to the waistband. I put the right side against the wrong side and just zigzagged along that white lace. Once you do this, you should have a pair of underwear. Moving on to the bralette, I am tracing the outline of my favorite Free People halter. There is a seam right down the middle of the cup, so I traced this accordingly. I traced the band as well, but decided to use the lace trim as is to avoid having to hem any raw edges. Your pattern should look something like that. To cut the trim to fit the cups, I put the decorative trim on the outsides, matched up the edge of my pattern with the decorative trim, and then cut with 1/2 inch seam allowance. There should be 4 pieces of trim. Repeat this for both cups, remembering to flip the pattern over on the other cup to get perfect symmetry. Sew that seam in the middle, right sides together. I put the lace trim around my ribcage and to measure how much I needed. To sew the cups to the band, mark the halfway point by folding the band in half and placing a pin at the edge. Pin your cups on either side of the center and zigzag stitch them on. Keep your stitch in line with the pink lace so there's no flaps on the outside, and trim the extra white lace after zigzagging if there is any. I was running out of lace since this was extra stuff I had lying around from other projects, so I used my scraps to finish the halter so it could fit around my neck. Finally, sew that band together, putting right sides together, and you're done. Here is the final result. I love my Hanky Panky underwear and Free People bralettes, but making these for under $10 is super satisfying. Thank you for watching and subscribe to see more DIY sewing videos.